So September 16th, 2010 is when I ended up in Florida. Now, how did I end up here? I was drinking a lot, doing a lot of drugs too. And I didn't know that that was gonna put me in a position to be able to live in paradise. I mean, people work their whole entire lives to try and retire, save up enough money to be able to be snowbirds. And what did I do? I drank and drugged my way here. What landed me here was just being on the perpetual cycle of drinking, working, using drugs, drinking, working, using drugs. And I was faced with a choice: either go homeless or go to treatment. So September 15th, I boarded a plane and ended up in Jacksonville, Florida for treatment. And I stayed there for 45 days and then transitioned to West Palm Beach, Florida, where I reside today. It was one of the best decisions I could have ever made in my life. And the funny thing is that I didn't make the decision. My dad made it for me. And it's the best thing that could have ever happened. And it was the only time I went to treatment. I have no plans on going back to treatment. But the important thing is, being here, I never thought that was going to be in the cards for me. If you would have asked me when I was in Pennsylvania, where do you see yourself 15 years from now? I would have probably said, well, buried 6 feet under, but little did I know that I would end up here. And there was a couple of things that had to take place for me to really establish here. And one of those was continuing to take suggestions from people. Understand that I didn't really have any reason to go back to Pennsylvania, except that my new life was gonna be in Florida. It wasn't easy by any stretch of the imagination. Being able to live here full time in the beginning was not easy to do. There were financial struggles. There was a lot of worry. What am I going to do for work? How am I going to make this work? But the thing that I did do perfectly was not drink. And trust me when I tell you, there were times that I wanted to, but I didn't. And I stayed close to people. And I stayed close to sober people. And I constantly surrounded myself with people that were doing well, that had jobs, that had a career, that had relationships, that had all the things that I knew I wanted. I just didn't know how to get. So my first year of sobriety was challenging. I was living in a sober living house. I was living with a bunch of other men. It was honestly, it was annoying. I didn't enjoy it, but it set the foundation for where I was able to establish, and I was able to do the things that I wanted and needed to do. So fast forward almost 15 years later, I'm still here. So whenever I have conversations with people and they're apprehensive about coming to Florida, to me it's a no-brainer. I get it. I understand if you have circumstances that don't allow you to fully transition to Florida. Doesn't mean that you still shouldn't come here, because as I say all the time, this is the most selfish time of your life. Because it's the most selfish time of your life, that means you can't let any outside noise dictate what is best for you. Even if you have children, even if you're married, even if you have a career, if you are truly an addict, if you're truly an alcoholic, those things you will not keep unless you get sober. chances are you're in a position to where rubber has now met the road. So being able to remove yourself from your environment for a period of time to solely focus on yourself is extremely important. Now, when I say come to Florida, doesn't mean that you have to be here for a year, but it also doesn't mean that you just come here for 2 weeks. Most people have to come here for 3 to 4 months. And if you do the work, 3 to 4 months is all it should take. Then you can transition back home and be sober, be productive, and do what you need to do. Now, those of you that aren't married, that don't have kids, that don't have a career, this is paradise. Why would you not want to come down here and get clean? It doesn't make sense to me for people that are like, oh, I love my hometown. No, you don't. That's crap. You don't love your hometown. I know what that's like. I've been there. The only thing I loved about it was it allowed me to use, it allowed me to drink, and nobody really judged me because that's just who I was. So don't continue to tell yourself the lie that, oh, I can't do that. I can't. Yeah, good for you, Tom. Good for you. You made it happen. Yada, yada, yada. You can make this happen. You can. I promise you. But it takes willingness. It takes being honest. And it takes being open-minded.